Ari Lewis Show.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports News Radio. Thank you for joining us. At any time, you can email the program, arilewishow@hotmail.com, or you can email the station, Israel Sports News Radio @gmail.com. A lot of fallout still from Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl from a few weeks ago. Also some big NBA trades. And who is the front runner this NBA season? On the line right now, my main man from Phoenix, Arizona, the host of Dorf on Sports. Back to the program, Andy Dorf. Dorf, man, how you doing out there?
Can't complain, brother. You know, it's a beautiful day where I am. I'm walking my dogs actually at the moment, and it's probably about, a nice 80 degrees or so right now. So I'm loving life, man.
That's a good deal. Not quite 80 degrees yet. A little bit rain here in Jerusalem, but we're getting there. So let's talk about the fallout from the Super Bowl, because a lot of interesting things that happened. You have obviously the story of if it's Peyton Manning's game or not, last game or not. And then after the game, people did not like Cam Newton's reaction to losing. Let's start first with Cam Newton. He was the MVP this season. What did you think of the 26-year-old's reaction to losing the big game?
You know what? I'm torn on this, man. I didn't like the way he handled it. However, I do like and I can appreciate the fact that he understands he blew it in the biggest game for himself, in the biggest stage, and in the biggest moment of his life. So I understand the disappointment. I understand that 100%, Ari. But what I don't understand is when you're asked after the game questions, you know what? You have to be able to suck it up and go out there and answer the questions, the tough questions about losing. And nobody wants to be on that side. But unfortunately, we all know that there's one winner and then there's a loser. So truth be told, I'm not very happy with the way that he handled the situation, but I understand it. And I wish that maybe they would have given him a few moments or something to go and collect himself before they have a guy out there after a game, like I said, in the biggest moment of your life, and you realize that you blew the opportunity to win a Super Bowl, and you really didn't have a chance, to be honest with you. So, truth be told, I understand the emotions. I'm not a fan of how he handled the emotions, though, Ari.
Now, that defense, top-of-the-line defense, that was a Super Bowl defense from the beginning of the year. How much of that played in a factor of Cam's Super Bowl rating, which I think his QB rating was about 50? How much of that played a factor? How much was that Cam had a bad game? And that play at the end where he did not dive for the fumble, he seemed, I've heard different stories, he was waiting for the rebound or he didn't want to get hurt. Tell us a bit about those concepts.
Look, man, the bottom line is, again, I'm not going to question the man's heart or desire. He was fantastic all season, okay? And it's all, in the biggest moment of his life, he failed, man, and in every way possible, he failed. So again, he was great all year, Ari. And again, you cannot underestimate the way that the Denver Broncos had a great game plan. You got to give credit to Wade Phillips. You really do. You got to give the Denver defense credit for going out there and getting the job done, and Wade Phillips for having a great game plan. And on the other side, the Carolina Panthers defense was fantastic all year. They deserve what they got to, and you know what? They made it somewhat interesting in the sense of, okay, they had a chance to be in that game only because their defense gave them a shot. So Cam had a bad day, Peyton had kind of a bad day, but truth be told, that was a very good defensive battle out there.
Yeah, it was. You don't usually see Super Bowls like that, and going to Peyton Manning, number 18, wins his second Super Bowl, his fourth appearance, and with four different coaches, pretty interesting enough. But you're right, he did not play well. His QB rating was also about 50, but people tend to forget that he gets to go out maybe as a champion. There's rumors about him going to the Rams. There's rumors about him retiring. What do you think is going to happen? And if you were Peyton Manning, what would you do?
Look, bottom line is, if I'm Peyton Manning, I read out the sunset. No questions asked. Nothing I need to prove anymore out there if I'm Peyton Manning. And, look, the guy has the right to do what he wants, but I think he's done enough, and he's got a lot of records now. And what else can he really prove to anybody? You know, like I said, I think they won despite of him. But with that being said, you know what? He has had a great career. He's a guy that deserves the sunset, the ride out in the sunset, and I think Peyton Manning will definitely do that. But I don't give him any hard time for taking a little bit of time as well, because you know what? It's an emotional decision. It's a family decision, and it's a decision on his own of, do I want to keep grinding this out? Do I have it in me to continue to grind this out? So, you know, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, but truth be told, I see him riding out in the sunset and calling it quits.
Right. I mean, even if he goes back to Denver, there'd be questions if he would start. And he pretty much has every record known to man for a quarterback, just about all of them, 5 MVPs. Really tremendous quarterback, obviously probably the greatest regular season quarterback of all time and one of the best of all time. Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports News Radio, talking to my main man, Andy Dorff, about Super Bowl 50. And the game before Super Bowl 50, not so pleasant for Arizona Cardinal fans, but they do get to the NFC title game, completely did not have it ready for Carolina. Season's still pretty good when you get to that level. What happened in the NFC title game against Carolina?
That was a total letdown, man. They didn't show up, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you recover from that kind of a performance, to be honest with you. If I'm the Cardinals, I am seriously contemplating going a different direction other than Carson Palmer. He's shown that he's really not a guy that you can trust in the playoffs, and I don't care about fingers. I don't care about a lot of things, to be honest with you. But truth be told, that was a devastating performance for himself, for the organization, and I don't know how either one of them recover. And I used to like Bruce Arians. I'll be honest with you, man. I used to be all over that guy and said, hey, he's a great coach. He's changed the culture here, and I think he's great for the Arizona Cardinals. I saw some things I didn't like out of him, to be honest with you, and I'm not so much on that wagon anymore with Bruce Arians as a great coach in this football league. So if I were them, I would seriously be thinking about what other directions can I go besides Carson Palmer, to be honest with you, Ari.
Well, so what other quarterbacks are out there? Who could be another person that could come in, take the reins, try to get Larry Fitzgerald another trip back to a Super Bowl?
Look, I don't think there is that guy, but I think you need to draft somebody. I guess that's what I'm really trying to say. I don't think you can really trust Carson Palmer to get you that ring. I mean, again, that was a crushing, man. That wasn't even close. That was an embarrassing loss. That was a very gut-wrenching feeling if you are a Cardinal fan. And I'm not necessarily a Cardinal fan. I'm just a guy that lives here in Arizona, and I talk sports, obviously, and this is my home. And I'll be honest with you, I like it better when they lose, because sports radio is better when they actually lose than when they win, because then people are always drinking the Kool-Aid and think they're fantastic. But you know what? At the end of the day, man, I think people got to consider themselves lucky that the Patriots had what I would call a downward trend towards the playoffs, and they were a little banged up, and obviously the Green Bay Packers very banged up as well. But you know what? I would have to say that any year that the Patriots aren't playing in the Super Bowl, if you're in the AFC, you're like, thank God, I may have an opportunity. And on the other side, it's been a little bit more of a different team up there here and there. But I'll be honest, man, and I am a Packer fan. We know that, but they were almost good enough without anybody out there. I mean, just think about that. When you really put that in perspective, and I'm not trying to be a homer. I'm trying to be a guy that's really objective. They lost. I get it, okay? I know that. But I think the future's bright there as long as you have Aaron Rodgers, and he just had surgery. He's feeling a little bit better about himself. Hopefully Jordy comes back. The guys that were 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 receivers, you know what? They got some experience this season playing. So I always think the Green Bay Packers are a force to be reckoned with. And when the Packers and the Patriots aren't two teams that have a shot to get to the Super Bowl, and you're one of those other teams that has that shot, you got to jump on it. And the Cardinals, they didn't jump on it. You know, they had a chance. They got by the Packers somehow, luckily, in a way that they won a playoff game. then they get it handed to them in Carolina. And truth be told, I'm not saying the Packers would have won that football game because I think they would have lost that game too, Ari. But I think because of the difference in the quarterbacks, and we'll get back to that point that you made about the Cardinals, or that I made about the Cardinals in general, I think just because Aaron Rodgers would have been on that field, the Packers would have had a better chance of winning than the Arizona Cardinals did because of Carson Palmer being on that field. So there's only a few guys in this league that you can trust. So I guess you need to try to figure it out and build in the draft and go after your quarterback that way.
It is interesting because Dorfman, in Israel, I think the game came on 1 in the morning. I was very excited. Cardinals could go back to the Super Bowl. After the first quarter, I turned off, went to sleep. I was like, I can't ruin the rest of my night. I can't. They're not going to win. This is brutal. So tough situation there. You talk about the Packers-Cardinals game. Larry Fitzgerald, great play in overtime, great game in general. He won the game for the Cardinals. This is my question. Yeah. You could draft a quarterback. You could build that way, but Larry Fitzgerald is about 32, 33. Is he going to want to wait around 3-4 years for a quarterback to develop?
No, man, but that, you know what, that's not the organization's fault. Look, they had a shot. They squandered it. And you know what, Larry Fitzgerald played fantastic this season. This is a guy that they were trying to phase out of this offense a few years back. And I remember we had a conversation about it, and I said, dude, it doesn't make any sense to me, man. This guy is so good. He goes across the middle. He gets those tough catches that guys hate to make in this league. And you know what? He moves the sticks, more importantly. So, and this year he threw a bunch of touchdowns in there and just, he had a fantastic season, man. And he was, you know what, there was one thing that I honestly was rooting for in that whole situation when the Cardinals went to Carolina. And I had a gut feeling that Carolina was going to hand it to him. I'll be honest with you on that one. But there was one part of me saying, you know what, I have really grown to like Larry Fitzgerald, the guy he is in the community, and obviously the player that he is on the field. We all know that. But there was a part of me saying, you know what, there's a couple of different storylines that I really like for this Super Bowl, and one of them would be Larry Fitzgerald having a shot to win the Super Bowl and ride out in the sunset, just like Peyton Manning obviously did. And then on the other hand, the other story that I was hoping for, and this is the one that really made me disappointed about the way that Cam was, the way that he was, and how he reacted on the field, off the field, after the game. Because if you can dab and do all that stuff all season long, then you got to be able to lose a little bit better than that. So what I wanted to see was, win or lose, I wanted to see an MVP-like person act out there, and I wanted to see it from Cam Newton. And obviously, I wanted Carolina to win that game because I wanted Cam to be that guy that was super all year and super Cam and the way that he gives football to the kids in the stands and all that stuff. I wanted that to happen. I'll be honest with you, Ari. So when it didn't happen, I was so disappointed in the way that this guy reacted because it showed me that he really hasn't grown up and that everything that he accomplished all season long, you can't take it away, but you have to look at it and say, you know what? This dude was always on top. And when he was always on top, he was cool and calm and collected. But as soon as the stuff got hairy and he went down and his team lost, he was a different guy. And you're like, whoa, I thought this guy turned a corner. And then once again, you're like, he hasn't turned that corner. So I was looking for Cam Newton to be special and to be the MVP in one way, shape, or form, and more likely in a winning cause than a losing cause, Ari. And that's what really disappointed me about that whole thing.
Yeah, Skip Bayless brought up this point that even when the Panthers were down 16-10 with a few minutes left, he still expected Cam Newton to drive down the field, even though he did not have a good game. He thought he would shine there, as the other quarterbacks done in the past. Montana, even. You go to other quarterbacks on a lower level, Big Ben, they get it done with 3 minutes left in the Super Bowl, make a name for themselves, but obviously Cam wasn't able to get it done. Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show on Israel Sports and News Radio, joined by Mayman Dorfman, Andy Dorf, talking about Super Bowl 50. Let's switch gears, talk about the NBA. Any weird non-trades or trades that kind of stuck out in your mind at all?
No, you know why? Because at this point, this is what I'm calling the NBA, man. NBA, you know how everybody knows NFL stands for not for long, okay? Well, I think I've come up with this one on my own, to be honest with you. I have never heard anybody say this before. The NBA right now stands for to me right now, the No Ability Association, because there's so many terrible basketball teams out there, Ari. And the truth is, with the way that salary caps are, they have to be matched up, and guys wanting to wait till the summer for free agency, and guys like Dwight Howard, who, the guy. Don't get me wrong, he's a specimen. He's a great player, but you know what? He's very unmotivated at this point, and I don't even know if new scenery changes that guy's attitude at all at this point. And so I guess I'm not really that surprised that nothing that tremendous happened. There was news about maybe Blake Griffin going somewhere and, this and that and the other. But truth be told, man, can you really get equal value for that guy? I don't think so, So I'm not that surprised that not many blockbuster type things happen with guys like that moving places. And truth be told, everybody right now is trying to copy what the Golden State Warriors are doing because obviously it's working for them. So it's like, hey, let's get a bunch of guys who are about 6'8", 6'9", and then some guys, maybe 3 or 4 of them, can actually spread the floor and shoot three-pointers. And then have a guy like Draymond Green who can play the 5 position. And then if you need, you can go to Bogut for a little defense, I guess, as a stopper there. I mean, every league is a copycat league, and now you're seeing more of it here in the NBA where teams are trying to be more like the Golden State Warriors. And I'm not surprised for your main question there as to there weren't many major things happen just because of the way the NBA is structured today.
All right. Now, there's so many angles to go with this, but there was talk about the reason Blake Griffin trade rumors were out there was to maybe motivate him. That is one of the theories presented on First Take. Obviously, strange situation where he punches out a guy who works for the team because the guy said the Clippers are better without Blake Griffin, that kind of thing. Do you buy into any of that and the idea that maybe the Clippers started those rumors just to kind of light something under Blake's butt, get him going? Because the Clippers, if they don't do anything this year, maybe they got to break up the team. Your thoughts?
Well, see, I think that's more the right direction. Truth be told is I think that, that they play the Golden State Warriors fantastic. We all saw it the other day. It was a great game, and Draymond does his thing and triple-double and bam, bam, that they wind up winning that basketball game. We thought maybe the Golden State Warriors would have back-to-back losses for the first time all season long, but they were true to the test and they handled that punch. But I don't really buy into that, to be honest with you, man. I think if you're an NBA basketball player, if you're a professional athlete at any level, whatever game you're playing, do you really need to be motivated, man? I think if you do, then there's something wrong with you. So I don't really buy into that. Here's what I buy into. I buy into the fact that they think they got a shot to be one of those teams that could potentially beat the Golden State Warriors. And you know what? No way. They're not better. Heck no, man. They are not better without Blake Griffin on the floor. Because like I said, you can't get equal value if you're going to trade that guy. So there's no way in hell I think that they're better without him than with him on that basketball floor. Are they having a nice run, when he wasn't out there? Yeah, absolutely, man, of course. But that's what good teams are able to do, man. They're able to step up when one of their big guns are out. And really what it does there, too, is it opens up the floor a little bit more for Chris Paul to be himself a little bit more. Let's be honest. He kind of has to hold back because he's got to be the distributor, and he does a great job of that. But the dude's got offense, man. He's one of those guys that when he gets going, he's unstoppable. They've got Crawford. I mean, they got a bunch of guys that can really ball. So the Clippers play the Golden State Warriors so well so that I think that if they were to break things up, that would have been a mistake. However, if, this year, once again, they're knocking on heaven's door and they don't get through, then yeah, you know what? Maybe you got to decide, hey, maybe we just can't win with this current roster that we have. And then you say to yourself, well, what is our biggest asset? And you know what can we have in 2 or 3 years from now? And maybe before that, who knows? But then that's when you think about moving Blake Griffin is what I think.
All right, and this playoffs, I mean, my friends talked about this the other day, might be some of the best playoffs that we've seen in a long time. You're talking about two teams in the Western Conference potentially having over 70 wins, plus Oklahoma's
Yeah.
pretty darn good, and obviously the Clippers, as we mentioned. How excited? I know it's months away, but how excited are you for this NBA postseason, especially, of course, the Western Conference?
I mean, that's what I'm excited for. I think, the Cavaliers are going to come out of the East, man. And if they don't, I think we're all going to be pretty shocked. And I would be shocked, to be honest with you, if Golden State doesn't get out. We don't have ourselves a rematch from last year. And, you know what, this year the Cavs have their pro arsenal, and we'll see if it's good enough to beat the Golden State Warriors. I don't think it is either way, but frankly, I think that's what LeBron wants. He wants a shot with Kevin Love and Kyrie out there with him to see if they have a shot to beat the Golden State Warriors. I'm sure of that. And then, look, I just think at the end of the day, man, do you really see the Golden State Warriors being off 4 games against anybody in a 4 out of 7 game series? I really don't. I mean, I'm being serious. Unless Steph gets hurt or Clay gets hurt, one of those big Draymond gets hurt, one of those big guns are not on the floor for them, then I can see even the San Antonio Spurs. You know what? I don't want to take anything away from them, man. Because you know what? If the Golden State Warriors weren't the Golden State Warriors, we'd be talking about the San Antonio Spurs, man. And that's just kind of like how crazy it is and how weird sports are. Because truth be told, San Antonio's having almost an identical season to what the Warriors are having. But again, the Warriors are flirting a little bit closer, obviously, with history than the San Antonio Spurs are. But I just don't see anybody, whether it's Oklahoma City with their great duo of Durant and Westbrook, or whatever they want to throw at you with San Antonio, because they're just so deep. But I don't see anybody beating Golden State 4 out of 7 games. In all honesty, Ari.
Yeah, the NBA is one of the sports. Generally, the best team wins the series. It's not
Yeah.
as fluky, obviously, as other sports. Baseball, in particular, is very fluky. Basketball usually get the best team. So, bringing up the All-Star Game, apparently Michael Jordan said to one of the Warriors players, "Go ahead and break the record," meaning the 72-10 record. I know it's hard to compare eras, but that's what sports talk is about. This year's Warriors team versus MJ's 95-96 team in a 7-game series. What happens?
Oof, man, you know what? That's an awesome question. It really is. I think it's a great battle. I really do. I think the game is different. Okay, so when you're comparing eras, I think that's what is what people get kind of lost in. Is like, the game is the same in the sense of, they're running up a basketball floor that's 94 feet. They're shooting at a rim that's 10 feet. But ultimately, these guys are bigger, stronger. More technology has really been a big part of why it's difficult to compare eras. But I like that question. I think it's a good one, to be honest with you. And I think, you look at all these different matchups that there would be out there on the floor, and there's a lot of interesting matchups. And I kind of would lean, obviously, toward the Chicago Bulls in the sense of I think that they're a little tougher. I think today's brand of basketball is somewhat soft. Guys are going to the rim and they don't get knocked down the same way they did back in the day. And if they do, well, they pay the price for that, the guy that gets hit and the team that did it. So it's a different game, and it's difficult to compare the two, but on toughness alone, I'm going to say I think that the Chicago Bulls, and you know what, they have the one guy that I hate to say it, I've never seen anybody like him in my life, and I don't want to see anybody like him in my life, and that's obviously Michael Jordan. So I'm all about history being broken, but there are certain things about history that will never be broken, and I don't know if I'll ever see another guy like Michael Jordan. And like I said, I don't necessarily think I want to see another Michael Jordan, to be honest with you. I think that guy just deserves to be on his own, in his own little vision in my world of when I was growing up and watching the Milwaukee Bucks battle those great Chicago Bull teams. I just have such great memories of how unbelievable this guy was and what a killer he was. And I think, if there's anybody close to what Michael Jordan was in that sense of being a killer out there on the field, on the floor, maybe Steph Curry, but I gotta lean toward that Chicago Bulls team, man.
Yeah, the MJ factor is certainly unique. He kind of figured out a way to always win no matter what. And by the way, people forget this. When they won 6 titles in 8 years, they only played 2 elimination games in those 6 years. 98 Game 7 against the Pacers, 92 Game 7 semifinals against the Knicks. That's how dominant they were. The Shaq Kobe Lakers almost very closely did not win a couple of those titles. Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show on Israel Sports News Radio, speaking to the Dorf man, Andy Dorf, here on the program. My last few minutes with you. I don't know if you got a chance to look at ESPN's top 100 list of NBA players all time. Very, very upset at that list. In particular, I don't like how high Chris Paul is rated. He's rated ahead of Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, and Gary Payton. Charles Barkley's ranked at 18th all-time. I think he's a bit high. And Allen Iverson is in the 40s. I want to get your thoughts on ESPN's all-time NBA players list.
You know what? That again, is a matter of people's opinion. And I think that's something that's really difficult to put a number on somebody, because all the guys you mentioned were really, really good and fantastic. But there's one thing that separates a lot of those guys from some of those other guys on the list, rings and how many rings they had. Charles Barkley didn't have any rings. However, that guy was a beast, man. He was unbelievable. And I loved watching him play with the Philadelphia 76ers back in the day with Dr. J and Mo Cheeks and Andrew Toney and those guys, man, and Bobby Jones. I mean, dude, the bottom line is I think that those lists that people come up with are for fans, I guess, to kind of like see their person or their guy or their athlete that they really admire on those lists. But that is such a tough thing, because there's always going to be somebody bigger, better, and stronger, and who knows when that next person is coming. But I think, to a certain point, we're kind of splitting hairs with this kind of stuff too, because there's been a lot of great basketball players, and I would like to know what they really, really look at for a lot of these things, the Hall of Fame for baseball, what they're really looking at when they're looking at people's careers and how they judge people. So I don't get too wrapped up in it, I guess, is what I'm really trying to say, because that's just people's opinions on, hey, this guy was a little bit better than that guy, but he played in this time, or this guy was, unstoppable and he played in this era. So it's very difficult to do that kind of stuff. Top 100, though, for the most part, I'm okay with it for the most part.
Really, I mean, but Paul's, Nash 2 MVPs. Usually don't see that from a point guard. And Jason Kidd, obviously great Suns player when he was there. Later on with other teams, didn't win a title with the Suns, but second all time in assists and steals. But you bring up the Hall of Fame. I want to switch real quick back to the NFL. Terrell Owens did not get into the Hall of Fame this year. One of the points was, even though he's got all these great numbers, he was a cancer in the locker room. Did you think T.O. should not get in the Hall of Fame? Was that the right call?
You know what? No way, man. That guy's a Hall of Famer. I hate to say it. He's had a lot of that people think he's a mean guy. Obviously, not such a team guy. And I heard that stuff about him being a cancer. And I actually saw him battling it out with Skippy Boy on First Take a couple of weeks back. And I actually really liked what he had to say for the most part. I liked what Skip had to say too, because he was giving them the shots right in front of their faces. So I respect that, to be honest with you, because he didn't really hold back his opinion because these two guys were in front of him. And obviously I'm talking about Chad Ochocinco and our man Terrell Owens, because they were on the desk and they were on First Take with one day when Stephen A was out. So it was just, they were kind of going at it with Skip. And look, man, T.O. is fantastic. And if you look at all his numbers, we're talking about numbers, he's right up there at the top of the list at those numbers too. So how do you keep that guy out, and get an Isaac Bruce in there or Marvin Harrison in front of him or whoever. I just don't see it, man. You can't do it if you ask me. I think he belongs there, and he'll get there. He's not a first ballot guy. He'll get there though.
Yeah, and major props to Skip Bayless, because Skip Bayless can be pretty negative, and a lot of reporters can be, but to say it to their faces, and I don't know if you saw during the commercial break, Chad Ochocinco went up to Skip and kissed him on the cheek. It was pretty funny, but it was a really good conversation. They went pretty technical. He gave his reasons why. Owens had really good defenses, and I kind of liked T.O. a bit more after that. He seemed pretty polished and educated, explained himself pretty well.
Well, not only that, it was like he kind of came prepared. You know what I'm saying? Like he had his notebook out there. He was reading out of his notes, man. And you know what? Again, yeah, I agree with you, man. I found myself saying, oh, you know what? He's taking a lot of you know what from people, but truth be told, he handled himself pretty well. I think they all handle themselves pretty well. And you know what? At the end of the day, man, it's sports, and it's a great thing for everyone to be talking about. So at the end of the day, I think that was a win-win because we got to see Skip beat Skip, and he didn't hold back, which, you know what, again, like you said and I said earlier, I respect that. I think that's cool because I hate that guy that's talking about Barry Bonds or whoever and saying negative things about him because they can do it and he's not right there, because they would never say certain things in front of people's faces. So I actually gained respect for all of them, to be honest with you. I thought it was a great first take. I really did. I actually enjoyed that one a lot more than I enjoy it on a normal basis, because a lot of it is just Stephen A. and Skip, you know, going back and forth, and you know, that's fun to a point. But when you get athletes in there that you've kind of taken down, you know, and trashed throughout the years, and then you kind of still do it right in front of their face, but obviously with the respect of letting them respond back, that's cool, man, and I like that a lot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was a great segment. Sometimes the segments are Stephen A. Smith being a wannabe Chris Rock, and that could get kind of tiring to hear that that whine, and you know, he's getting all into his act like everything is important and passionate when it's not always the case. All right, Dorf, before we go, the audience and fans in Israel that want to listen to you, know more about you, all that good stuff, where should they go to?
They should go to sportsbyline.com. Obviously, I've got a fan page on Facebook, Dorf on Sports. They can always go to that one. They can check us out between, I don't know what the time is there, but it's 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time, Sunday mornings here in the Valley of the Sun. And I don't know, again, what are you, 8 hours maybe different?
We're right now 9 hours ahead.
9 hours ahead, so you're looking at like, I don't know, whatever, what time would that be then for you guys?
Okay, so let's do this. 8 in the morning is 5 o'clock here, so 5 to 7 on Sundays.
Hey, man, that's perfect, man. The people can obviously, like, listen maybe after they watch a little football or whatever during the football season and whatnot. But, yeah, sportsbyline.com. I believe they can get it on all the apps, iHeart, TuneIn, so all they got to do is just go check out either Dorf on Sports, I believe, or Sports Byline, and then check us out from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time, which would be 5 to 7 p.m. Israel time.
All right, good stuff. And I see you on Facebook, Dorf on Sports. Click like. Good stuff, man. It's good to catch up with you. Been too long, but I'm happy we were able to do it. Thanks for the time. Great show, and we'll be in touch, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Yeah, man, it's tough. You know, we're halfway around the world from each other, so sometimes I get those times that you're giving me a little bit mixed up, and I totally apologize, but I appreciate you reaching out as you always do, and I look forward to talking to you as always, Ari.
Absolutely, man. I was going to keep going until you came on. You know, I got to hustle. That's what I got to get the good shows going. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah, man.
Take care, man. Have a great day.
You too, man. Be well.